Yeah, welcome to another episode of the Racer X Exhaust podcast. This time, talking to six-time Jeff Stanton, who is never one to mince words. As a matter of fact, there was a time where I was assured of two things in my life, that eventually Jeff Stanton would become my favorite racer, and also that sushi would become my favorite food. Now, it's a little strange to think those two things because, sushi is an acquired taste for many, but it was on the rise with me. I was liking it more and more each time I had it. Unfortunately, I then took a trip to Japan and had real sushi over there, and I've never quite recovered my confidence in sushi yet. It's good, but, that edge that you need for something to be elite, never quite got there again after I had some of the weirdo stuff in Japan. As for Stanton, I was surprised that he was going to become my fave because when he was racing, I certainly respected him. I certainly liked him. I don't know if I was putting any posters of him in my high school locker like I did with Damon Bradshaw. But post-racing, Stanton, the coolest guy ever. I mean, ever. He's the one that carries himself the way you want the ex-racers to carry themselves. Like, he'll drop some opinions, he'll drop some bombs, he'll talk some trash. He has no reason to hold back because he knows his record is good enough. Maybe Stanton isn't the GOAT. Maybe he's not the greatest of all time. But he's certainly good enough all time to be able to say whatever the heck he wants. Now, in recent years, we haven't seen Jeff at the races as much lately. He was working as an advisor with Team Honda forever. Then he became Justin Barcia's trainer. Now he's moved on and is actually really busy with businesses back home in Michigan. He built this barn up, and it coincided with this rise in everyone wanting to get married in rustic barns. So now he's got his hands full, and probably his wallet, in the wedding business. So good for six-time, but that means we don't see him at the races that much anymore. Probably still the coolest guy, probably still the racer you'd like to hang out with the most. Trust me, we just don't get to hang out with him as much as we used to. But if you think there's another ex-champion, ex-racer that you'd rather hang out with more, that would be even more fun than messing around with Jeff Stanton, well, you're going to have your chance to prove it. Stanton is spearheading this awesome fundraising effort for all the great things that are going to happen at the Redbud Motocross of Nations in October. This might be the best part of all. It might even be better than the racing or the parties. Stanton is hosting a Friday night dinner at the track, and you can buy spaces at a table and have dinner and bench race with 40 of the all-time greats. It might be the best collection of all-time American motocross talent ever. I think the only thing that might rival it is a few years ago when they brought out all of the former Supercross champions to Anaheim, and we got them all in one room in one place at the same time. It doesn't happen very often at all. So Stanton worked his contacts, worked the phones. The idea here with this dinner is the costs go to offset what it takes to get the medical crew to go to Motocross of Nations. You want to have the regular Alpine Stars medical unit, of course. And then in addition, from what I've heard, there are also requirements that the FIM has for this race that go above and beyond normal races. It's the Nations, it's big, so that costs a little more for the track as well. So Stanton volunteered to help out. He's putting this fundraising dinner together. And the cool thing is it's not a deal where you, the fans, sit in the audience and watch the riders on stage tell old stories. No, you get a table with Jeff Ward. You get a table with Rick Johnson, et cetera, et cetera. Now, they've bid away most of the tables already, but there's a few slots left. You might have heard about this Team Puerto Rico thing. Maybe. Travis Pastrana and I believe it will be announced soon, Kevin Windham are in for that team. So those guys are now up for bid. And can you imagine like bench racing all night at dinner with Kevin Windham or Travis Pastrana? Does it get any better than that? Well, I still maintain actually maybe Stanton would be better than that. But you cannot lose with this collection of talent. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. If you want to find out more about it, go to roadtorecovery.com. That's road, the number 2, recovery.com. Or MXONExperience2018.com. Now, the bids are going to be on Thursday, I believe, for Pastrana and Windham. So get in on it now. That would be tomorrow, August 23rd. Get in on it, bid for seats. They're going to raise enough money to cover the medical expenses for the race, and then whatever is left over is going to go to Road to Recovery, which helps a lot of injured riders get back up. Right now, shout out to Brad Baker, one of the great guys from the American Flat Track Series who is paralyzed at X Games, hoping Brad can recover, and Road to Recovery is helping him out as well. So Jeff Stanton doing some great things off the track as a businessman. He is now transferring some of those skills over to help raise funds with an all-time hangout here, having donations at Redbud. So I decided to not only talk to Jeff on the phone about this, but if you're going to get him, you might as well ask Jeff about today's racing because, like I said, the dude doesn't hold back. And yes, he does talk trash on a variety of things here, which is what we've come to know and love from Six Time. We also have come to know and love this. Podcast. 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 Yeah. Now, just to make this the most six-time Stanton-style interview of all time, when I called him on Tuesday morning, he was on a gnarly road bike ride, but he still answered the phone. I have a feeling that Jeff Stanton gets a lot of work done when he's on the road bike because he's still a training madman. And then when he had more time and the road ride was over, he called me, and his cell phone had absolutely horrible service at times because I think he lives in the woods somewhere in Michigan. Stanton is pure Michigan. Literally, when I see those road signs when you're driving to Redbud and it says pure Michigan, or you hear the commercials on TV with Tim Allen as the voiceover, when I hear the term pure Michigan, which is the state's tourism slogan, I think of Jeff Stanton. So it's only fitting that he's a big help behind the scenes here with the Redbud Motocross of Nations. As always, the Racer X Exhaust podcast is brought to you by Yoshimura. You already know by now they have 63 years of research and development in four-stroke exhaust, and you can check them out at yoshimura-rd.com. You know this because I tell you this every week, but what you might not know is they have a new titanium header pipe available exclusively for the new Honda Works Edition CRF 450R. Now, if you're in the know, you're saying to yourself, wait, there already is a Yoshimura exhaust on that Works Edition Honda. That's one of the big differences between the standard CRF 450R and the Works Edition. Aha! But Yoshimura was not satisfied merely being the best. They want to be the best of the best. So they actually have a titanium header that you can put in replacement for the stainless header that comes on the Works Edition bike. And it's lighter and produces even more power than the regular Works Edition does. So if you've already got that bike, if you're the ultimate Honda guy and you've got the Works Edition machine, $699 is the retail price on this titanium header. It takes a couple pounds off the bike, and I have a picture of the dyno charts right here. Just trust me, it produces more power. And you cannot use this header on the regular CRF 450R. It only works with the porting and the mapping that come in the Works Edition bike. If you do want a titanium Yosh header for your regular Honda, they already have that. This one is developed exclusively for the Works Edition. So if you want the Worksist Edition, Works Edition, check out Yoshimura and get this pipe, or just go to your dealership and they should know how to order one for you. Also, Racer X brand, we've got new shirts rolling out all the time. We've got some donation stuff. Patriotic stuff. That's what we're calling it. You can check it out at racerxbrand.com. And if you type in exhaust in all caps, you can save 20% off your order. I asked if we could get 80% off the order and then only thus pay 20% for the entire thing. That's more my prices. Not available. But 20% off is good. And please do it so I can get more people to use the code than Mathis does with his code that will remain unnamed. It gives it the same discount. But just use mine because, I mean, dude, I'm cooler. We have the Ironman National coming up this weekend. This will be the series finale. Aaron Plessinger has already wrapped up the title. This would be my golden opportunity to say, I knew Aaron before. He was so good. I had this pegged when I was a young buck working my way through the industry, and Aaron was just a 9-year-old who was already tall enough to race 85s and was crushing everyone at GNCCs and was fast in motocross. He was already fast at motocross. Maybe I didn't know he'd be this good, but he already showed a lot of talent. So I would love to say that I saw this coming and Aaron's my all-time boy and win one for the home team and the Woods Riders, but I didn't think he'd turn out to be this good. This is phenomenal. He's on the rise and also quite popular now with the personality that is both aloof, laid back, and honestly charming when you wrap it all up. The guy often doesn't know what to say or what to do except laugh, and I think people actually really like that. So really refreshing for Aaron Plessinger to get this title. We'll see what happens this weekend at Indiana in the 450 class, but good God, if the motocross gods want to reward someone, they will give Eli Tomac this number 1 plate because the rides this season have been ridiculous. Anyway, that's Indiana. We'll talk more about that next week. But right now, let's get to our conversation with Jeff Stanton. Let's just start right here. You're one of the all-time Team USA guys, and even though you're not racing the event this year, you're still doing your part. You're not doing this as a fundraiser just for fun. It actually is like a necessary thing, I believe, for donations to have this medical crew, and somebody's got to pay for it, correct?
So this is how it started.
Yep.
Amy Ritchie calls me last fall. Says, I want to do something cool for opening ceremonies.
Oh, okay.
Do you think you can call a bunch of guys and we can do a plate lap?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, sure. So I kind of blew it off, and about 2 months ago she called. She says, hey, how's that pre-lap thing working? I'm like, well, just give me a little time. So I start calling guys, and the response was overwhelming. I'm like, 80% of the guys I'm calling are coming. So one day, Amy and I was talking, and she's like, man, you wouldn't believe what it costs to get the medical unit there, and blah, blah, blah. And so then the whole fundraising came into mind. If I'm getting these guys to come back to do a plate lap, why don't I put an event together to raise a bunch of money? What would you pay to sit with Ricky Carmichael, Rick Johnson, David Bailey, Travis Pastrana, Kevin Lincoln, Jeff Stanton,
Yep.
a list of who's who, Brad Lackey, Mark Blackwell. I've got 3 guys from the first ever Motocross of Nations team from 1970 coming. On through. Billy Lyles just contacted me this week. It's just the list goes on and on and on. And so it's like I'm putting together an event where I'm going to have 40 of the best American guys ever under one tent for a dinner.
Yeah, that's, there's never been anything really like this at all, right? I don't think. Are you there? I don't think there's ever been anything like this before. No,
for sure not. And to do it to raise money is that sets it over the bar. But my list goes on and on. For me, the most iconic Motocross of Nations team, honestly, is Johnny O'Mara, David Bailey, Rick Johnson. Can you tell me where that race was at?
Oh, everybody knows, man. 86, Italy, Majora. Yep.
Yeah. Just honestly, because that's when I was really starting to break that mold of really, thinking that I was going to be a pro guy, and so I was following it, and so that team to me was like, that's the iconic team of Motocross of Nations. Johnny O'Mara came back and passed everybody on the 125 at Majora and all them hills. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So fans get to hang out with these guys and bench race and talk about this stuff.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, we started off, I'm just going to sell tickets, and it's like, no, you know what, I want to raise a little more money. I call it greedy, however you want to call it, but what would you pay to sit with Johnny O'Mara? And here's the story that 1986 Motocross of Nations, sit with him for 2 hours and bench race with him, and, so to me it's just like, it's an epic event, really.
Yeah, and as far as the cost thing, from what I've heard, we always have that Alpine Stars rig at all the Supercross and Motocross races that we're used to, but there needs to be even more, I've heard, with the FIM rules and donations. There needs to be an even larger staff, so that's what a lot of this money is needed for, correct?
Right, and, they go to every race. They know all the American guys, and it's like old tag to them. It's, it's like back in the day, they threw our butts in an ambulance and off we go. It's no big deal. But now, they fly doctors in, and it's the same crew, and everybody's on the same page, and so it's elevation in sports and everything. So it's a must. It's expensive, but it's needed in all sports. All sports has their own core group of people that you feel comfortable with, and if there's an injury, you can go to them and feel comfortable about it. So I got no problems with the cost of everything, but I just want to help raise money for that and raise money for road recovery. Unfortunately, guys getting injured all the time, and Jeremy Martin got hurt, and road recovery, they pick up the slack wherever they can, and that's what it's all about. So if we can raise money and help out everybody through road recovery, through Alpine Star Mobile Medical Unit, and have 250 people have the time of their life and hear stories and lead with cool merchandise. That's what it's about.
By the way, how much are you just looking forward to hanging out with these guys? Like, again, this collection hardly ever happens. So what a fun night that's even going to be, even for a guy like you to bench race with those guys. It's not like you see these dudes every weekend anymore either.
No, you don't. No, there's never going to be a gathering like this again.
Yeah.
Listen, Redbud, Motocross of Nations, past USA Motocross of Nations team going clear back to 1970.
Yeah.
It's iconic. So it's going to be totally cool.
All right. People can go to roadtorecovery.com, and it's got a whole list of things. And so do people bid on this? This is what happens?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So we had an auction here 3 weeks ago and had a list of people that are coming and sold the majority of our seats now. And so now my goal is to add 1 to 2 heavy hitters from here on out. So this Thursday, Travis Pastrana, as everybody knows, the new buzz is. Travis is going.
Uh-huh.
He was on the fence. I talked to him early. He's like, I got a nitro thing I got to do. I'm trying to get out of it, blah, blah, blah. Well, let's all come forward now.
Uh-huh.
So he's coming to the event. So we're going to auction off his seats starting this Thursday, him and Kevin Windham. And so you can go to Road Recovery, bid on them seats. What are you going to pay to sit with Travis Pastrana? I mean, dude, let's not go beyond Motocross of Nations, just what the guy's done in his life period. Those stories are endless. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean,
going just back to his evil jump that he did.
That's right.
So we've been able to raise a great amount of extra money just by auctioning off them seats. You know, I don't look at it as being greedy. I'm doing this to raise money through Road Recovery and to help everybody out. So, you know, there's people out there that I believe will pay, $1,000, $1,500 to sit with Travis and say, dude, tell me about the evil jump. How awesome was it? You know, and Travis going to be sitting at a table with 8 other people. So,
yep.
That's what's cool about it. I didn't want 40 guys sitting at the head table chumming amongst themselves. I want 40 guys sitting in the crowd, sitting with 8 people at their table, that have their wife or their friend with them, sitting with 8 people at each table, and I want interaction. I want 250 people to leave this event that I put on and go, dude, that was the time of my life.
Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, as great as the racing is, this is even... To some people, this is worth more than even seeing the actual race in person. Like, to be able to rub elbows with you or Jeff Ward or David Bailey or RJ or Travis, like you said, or Wyndham, like, that's the stuff. That's the good stuff.
You got it. So that's what's so cool about it. If everybody was sitting at the head table and they're seeing them from a distance and get an autograph, that's one thing. But to be able to sit there and interact and I've got some guys that are not good talkers. They're like, dude, don't sell my seats. I don't want to sit with anybody. But, there's people out there they're gods, to them. So they're going to pay $500, $600, whatever, how many ever dollars there is. So we auctioned off the majority of our seats. So now you can go to Road Recovery, $500, get you in the event. We're going to tell you where you're going to sit. And you don't have that choice now to pick who you're going to sit with, other than the new people that I bring in here in the next couple of weeks. So this Thursday, you can bid on Travis's seats, and you can bid on Kevin Wyndham's seats and Gary Jones's seats. What would you pay to sit with them? Yeah. That auction's just for one day, and then if they don't sell all their seats out, then their seats come back up for $500. We still got to sell 100 seats to sell this thing out. My goal is to sell this thing out and raise $150,000.
This is hilarious, though, because you have zero obligation to do this. It's not like you directly are employed by Redbud or anybody at the Nations. No. Like, you're just doing it to do it.
I took this project on thinking, it's going to be a piece of cake. Oh, my Lord. Oh. It's consumed massive amount of time. Because, listen, I'm calling Fox, I'm calling parts, and, I want these cool people to leave with all kinds of cool stuff, and, getting other people to help, help out with sponsorship stuff. And so, the goal at the end of the day is to raise money to help any of our leader riders in the future, and even ones that are in the past, and to raise the money to pay for the Alpine Star Mobile Medical Unit for this event.
But it sounds like, because it's at Redbud, which you're a Michigan guy, and obviously the Nations, you have a great history of that as well. If this were just happening anywhere else, I don't know. Do you get involved, or is this like, hey, this is Redbud? Sure, I'll help. I'll do what I can for Redbud. Is that a big part of it?
Listen, it's a little easier because it's 40 minutes from my house.
Okay.
and listen, I'm sure people know by now kind of what my side gig is here at home. I do weddings every weekend here in Michigan now. I've got an old barn that'll turn into a wedding event, and we do all kinds of events. So listen, everything was really set in place for me. I got caterers that I use every weekend and tent people, and so it made it a lot easier just because I've been organized. I'd call my tent guy, hey, I need the biggest tent you can get me, so 45, in the stage and blah blah blah. So really, it was a lot easier, and so to do it in my hometown, my home state, and super pumped to have the Motocross of Nations here and working with Tim and Amy, and we're all buds, so it's all good. It's consumed a little time. I have a lot of contacts in my phone that I didn't have in the past, referring to 40 other riders from the past. But it's good. I'm trying not to bug riders too much and just keep it simple and to the point. And the manufacturers have got behind me on supplying bikes for the parade lap, so I don't have to call 40 individuals and say, hey, can I borrow your bike for Velopoto to ride? So it's all coming into place, and I'm super excited to raise. My goal is to raise $100,000.
Let's just talk about how cool it is, though, to have this combo, the Nations and Redbud. This is what people have been wanting, since probably before you were even on the Nations team, and ever since. Yeah. It's like 30, 40 years people have wanted this combo. It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be amazing. And the Richies are overwhelmed with just everything that it takes working with Ustream, and it's a lot of work for them. Tim has been nonstop redoing the track, making all the updates that they need, that they require for their events, and so. But like you said, to have it in the middle of the country at Redbud's so iconic. They do a great job there. So it's gonna be great, and it's gonna be awesome to pull into there and see that whole everybody that's been there. Pull into there and see that whole place sold out with campers, sold out, camping, sold out, so it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's going to be totally sweet.
Emmy took me on a little tour after the National this year, and she's like, their big fear is they don't know if they're going to have enough room. And I'm like, this place is huge, right. And everybody has so much respect for you guys, how well you organize things. But you're right, man. They're not taking this lightly. Like, they're worried almost that it's going to be too much. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah. No, I mean, I hope by the time this event sells out that I'm doing, that their camping is sold out, and they got to park everybody at the fairgrounds and bus them in. People that come in for Saturday and Sunday is my hope.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome. I'd love to see 50,000 people there lying around the place. I mean, when you see the pictures from the Motocross of Nations in France, that's what you see. And we need to do in our country. We need to do the same thing.
Yeah, good point. That's right. It's maybe crazy for us, but this is not the first time there's been an event like that. That French event 2 years ago was insane.
Yeah, I mean, the pictures that I've seen from 2 years ago, and even you can probably tell me when it was even before that it was the same way. All them hills were lined with people. Solid. Yeah. I mean, solid. It's epic, and that's in respect. That's what we need to do as Americans, is show up and do the same thing.
Hey, I've been going to Redbud for, say, 18 years or so now, and that's past your days of racing there. Redbud, for sure now, is like, it's the race that everybody says that's their favorite track and their favorite race weekend and the biggest crowd and all this. Even back in, say, 1990, was that where Redbud fell, or is this the thing that's kind of built through the decades, this Redbud legend?
No, it's built through the decades.
Okay.
It sucked. In the late 80s, that place sucked.
Straight up, you're saying this.
Sorry, Gene. A thunderstorm just hit and the lightning just struck here at the farm. Sorry,
that's right.
Gene, no, dude. What they've done in the last 25 years to build that place up is, Tim and Amy have just done. I mean, you've been there for 20 years. You see everybody that's been there for as long as I've been there and know what the track was like in the mid 80s. Muddy as heck in practice, dusty by the afternoon, growing over in weeds. And now, dude, the whole place is perfectly manicured, and Tim knows his dirt, and it's just, it's the best event. I'm being prejudiced because I live 40 minutes from it, and I'm, super good friends with him. But I think 80% of the country would agree that it's the best event. It's beautiful. They take it serious. That's their living. It's got to take care of multiple siblings throughout the year, and so it's just it's awesome.
Hey, Larocco's Leap, what was that when you were racing there? What was Larocco's Leap in 91, 92, for example? Was it like a double with like a shelf on the top, or what was it?
It was a big double, and it got stretched out over the years. And then, obviously Mike was iconic for that racetrack too. He lived right there, and so it's turned into Larocco's Leap. And so, it's awesome. So
it's just another thing that's made that legend, I guess. They added that jump.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
For sure. And that Mike owns property, which a mile away from the place. So and local guy. So it's totally cool.
Oh wait, can we park cars on his land then?
Yeah, we might be able to. It's probably 99% wood, so you'd have to have a little demo to be in going through the trees, but yeah.
That sounds like Jeff Stanton's type of event right there, smashing up some cars.
Exactly.
Hey, so for you, when was the last time you've had a chance to bench race with all these guys? Certainly you've never had a chance with 40 of these guys, these old guys. But now that you're so busy with your not related to motocross business, how often do you get to see these people?
No, you don't see them very often. So I just saw a thing on Transbargo that Mickey Diamond did.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So Transbargo is a race that we do in Italy every fall. They fly a bunch of us old codgers over there, and we do a race over there, and it's a first. They do a great job, and so Transbargo's a super small version of that. It's like Brock Glover, Brad Lackey, Diamond, myself, John Dowd. There's probably 10 of us that go over every year and do this event, and it's just a cool event. And to hang out with those kind of guys for a week and just bench race, hearing Brad Lackey stories from doing the races in Europe. Danny Laporte, he's another one that's had, just all kinds of cool stories from racing in Europe. So to be able to hang out with those guys for, and hear history that you never would hear if you weren't with them, that's what it's all about. And that's what I want to do with this event. I want 3.5 hours on myself and Vitus and Davey interviewing everybody and interview all 40 guys and tell us your best motocross nation story and see what everybody's up to and what they're doing. And so for 250 people, it'll be the best event of their life.
I feel like you are the right guy for it because although when you were racing, you were like this gnarly, serious dude, I feel like since then, you've become like, I love these guys. I hang out with these guys. I have a good time. I'm lighthearted. I see you don't seem to hold any grudges from back in the day.
No, shoot. You grow up and you mature and you realize what life's really about, and that's you put all that behind you. So if you haven't grown up at the age of 50, then you've got some serious issues. So I've enjoyed talking to Dane and Bradshaw and getting commitments from all these guys, Ryan Dungey, Villapoto. So it's been cool bench racing, and Ryan and I, and it's a story that I'll talk about at Motocross Nations, talking about Ryan Dungey and I and stuff we've talked about in the last year and a half. When you reach that retirement stage, it's like, what do you do with your life? And so I won't spoil it. We'll talk about that. But Ryan and I have had some good conversations. That's, one thing in our sport that lacks. We raced motorcycles since we were 6 years old. And then all of a sudden we retire and we kind of get lost. What do we do? I was different. I born and raised in Michigan, had the farm that I can always go back to, and I was able to start some businesses and be successful at it. And so, but for a lot of guys, dude, they don't, what do they do? And so it's something that another project I may or may not be working on in the sport. And so, there's some guys that are a little bit lost right now. It's out there, Trey Kennard out there. What he's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So it's an issue that the sport has, and I may or may not be working on a few things there. So we'll see.
No, well, it'll be good to have you back around. I mean, I know the wedding business has been good, but we don't get to see you at the races much anymore.
No, everything's good.
You actually, you hit on something interesting. There's this trend now of dudes retiring early, but nothing is new under the sun, as they say. I mean, what were you, 26 when you retired?
Yeah.
Like that? Yeah. So it's not the first time that this has happened. We're just back in that same game again now. So yeah.
Listen, because you put if you put your heart and soul into it, and you do the work that it takes to be a champion, it wears on you. It wears on your body. It wears on you physically, mentally, to train 365 days a year and to race 45 races a year. and to have the demand that everybody requires of you, it's tough.
Also, would you have been able to say, you know what, I'll come back in 1995 and I'll just be a 7th place guy and not work as hard and not do as well and just sign autographs? Like,
dude, that doesn't work.
It doesn't, does it?
I know. I mean, how many years have I been retired? 20 plus now. And when I go to the racetrack and race, you just don't settle for 5th place. And when you're 50 years old, it gets harder and harder, you know. So that never leaves you. I don't care what you're doing. If it's your group bicycle ride you do every Wednesday and every Friday.
Oops. And Stanton's call drop right there. I do get him back in a moment. This is my chance to remind you, Yoshimura, that's our sponsor of the show. Check them out, yoshimura-rd.com. They've got that new titanium head pipe, which works even better than the cool Yoshimura exhaust that comes on the Works Edition Honda 450. So if you have one of those new Works Edition bikes en route, what the heck? You've already spent a lot of money on it. Just get the titanium header and make the bike perform even better. It also looks super cool. And thanks to Racer X brand, type in exhaust in all capital letters to get 20% off of your order. So what Stanton was talking about there is that even he, at 50 years old, when he goes on these group bicycle rides, and even if I call him on the phone during them, he's going all out. So these guys that retire early, like Stanton, as soon as they know that they're not going to be able to put in the effort to win championships anymore, they just can't ride it out, take 5th or 6th place finishes, and collect a paycheck. So Stanton retired at 26, which is eerily close to the age that Dungey and Villopoto were when they stepped away. So I thought that was an interesting parallel. The next thing I wanted to ask Jeff about was Justin Barcia. So Barcia, Stanton worked with him for a long time. They're actually still very close. He says he talks to him on the phone weekly. And here's Stanton's thoughts on the renaissance of Justin Barcia this year.
Just talked about that.
Yeah.
A few minutes ago. Everybody matures. And he was very immature in his early 20s, and now he is much more mature, put some more responsible people around him, getting married here in 2 months, and so that comes with age. There's some that can figure it out early. Justin was one of them that it took a little while to figure it out, unfortunately at a cost of multiple factory rides. And so, yeah, I'm pumped for him and the Yamaha guys.
Okay, so we have Eli Tomac back on the team. This guy's taken heat. He didn't race it the last 2 years. But, I mean, you were in that position yourself once. I think people forget. But you've had to make this decision. It's not an easy one to just go every year.
Yep. No, it was the worst decision of my life that I ever did. It was a little different back then. The Motocross of Nations was in the middle of our championship, and so I was leading the championship, and I opted not to go to Australia. So Billy Lyles, Michael Russell, and Jeff Ebbing went over and won, and nobody expected that, but they did. They held up, and so it was a dumb decision on my part because I ended up not winning the 500 national championship that year anyway. So that was my backlash for not going. You know, perhaps if I would have went, I might have won the title. But, so yeah, I've been in that situation. So I hope in America at Redbud they can make it happen.
Oh, so yeah, that's interesting. You look back at that. You're not happy that you decided not to go in '92. You look back at that with regret. I didn't realize that.
Oh, 100%. It was stupid. You look at it because, listen, like I said, it was in the middle of our season. We raced an outdoor national, the Motocross of Nations, which was an off weekend, and then you go back to racing. I fly to Australia. I'm like, dude, that's the stupidest thing I've ever done. I got to win a 500 title. I got no choice. I haven't won one. Mm-hmm. And, hindsight, that was one of the stupidest things I've ever done. I mean, who turns down a trip to Australia?
It is crazy, though, when you look at that old schedule that you guys used to have one or sometimes even two races after the Nations. You guys are racing till October. That's crazy. Yeah.
And then, back then, Europe was big. I mean, more money in Europe doing all the invitational races. So when we were done with all that, we'd go to Europe for 2.5 months and race another 15 races. So, it's a little bit different now. I hear I race too much. I race too much, dude. For 4 years in a row, I did over 50 races a year. So, but, that's like walking to school up hills both ways in a snowstorm. You hear the old guys talk about that. So you can't compare it. It is what it is. Eli is what he is, and Jeff Stanton is who he is. So life goes on.
Yeah. So okay, he's back on now. He's riding phenomenally. Yep. You're saying you're watching these races, so this is going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to be straight up with everybody. I watched these I watch the GPs every weekend too, and I'm super impressed with Hurling. So I love his style. You love him or hate him. I'm one of the guys that I love him. Dude, you can't knock what he's doing over there. I mean, he is just slaying it.
Mm-hmm.
So do I hope Eli can man it up and make it happen? I sure do for America. I mean, I'm red, white, and blue, and it is what it is. But it's not going to be a cakewalk. The only good thing is Hurling starts about as good as Eli starts.
We're going to be in for a show then.
Yeah. So,
hey, in your experience doing this event, how, so many people are building up, oh, man, what's it going to be like Eli against Hurlings? But that's not necessarily the goal here. The goal is to win it for the team. So you've been in that situation. Do they come into the race saying the goal is to beat this guy, or do you need to actually not focus on that and think of just doing what you need to do? That's kind of the weird thing about this race.
Yeah, no, Roger knows what he's doing.
Okay.
I can recall the dinners that we had before the event saying, hey, this is take the I out of it and put the T into it.
Yep.
It's not I anymore, it's team. And so that definitely has to be the main focus. It takes all three of those guys. Plessinger speaks for himself. He's done an awesome job. Justin Wright's great at Redbud. He was a great choice because he loves Redbud and Wright's great. So, and he's a good starter. So,
yep.
No, it's about team. Been there, done that. I don't know how to tell you the stories. Came from last two Motocross of Nations and passed who I had to pass and moved people out of the way that I needed to move out of the way.
That's
so
right.
That's the main focus, is to get red, white, and blue back on the top step of the podium. It's been way too long.
Yeah, were you ever going there saying, my goal is to smoke Eric Gabors and just show everybody what's up? Or is it always just, I got to finish where I got to finish?
No, you got to be the team player, and if you get both full shots and can win and be the king guy, then okay, that's a bonus. But it's all about staying focused and winning it as a team. That's what it's all about.
What do you think of these Tomac charges, though, man? These second moto.
Man, he's been impressive. You can't say anything bad about it. I mean, just if he could figure out his starts, everybody'd really be hating it. But yeah, so training in the altitude, and he's got the bike figured out. He's in a good place. I mean, the bike's good. He's good. Sam, put successful people around him, and that's what it takes. It's all good.
Hey, you mentioned Barsha having to stay in California, which you didn't want to do. I know that you split time in Michigan back when you were racing, but how did that work then? Now we have all these facilities that are so well done.
Yeah.
I'm sure Tomac's facility is top notch. We know what everybody has in Florida. Barsha has one. Everybody has one. What did you have? Did you have a Supercross track and all that?
Yeah, in Michigan I did. So I left Michigan 1st of November. I went to California.
Uh-huh.
And lived in California. Obviously rode on the Honda test tracks and stayed out there until after Daytona. That was my breaking point when the weather broke back here. I had a full Supercross track at home, all the outdoor tracks, and so that was my gig. Had a house in California, go out there in November, train, ride, test, stay out there for the first 8 rounds, till after. Back then, it was after Atlanta, Gainesville, Daytona. Come home after Daytona, the weather broke, and we were good to go here. So that was my gig.
Honestly, not that different than the schedule a lot of these guys run now. You're just in Michigan instead of Florida.
I mean, yeah, Justin could stay at his place year-round, but for Yamaha, it was keeping an eye on him, making sure he's getting his riding in, developing the bike, testing the bike. That's the only downfall of the whole Florida thing, is all the manufacturers are in Southern Cal.
Yep.
And so testing the bike and doing that whole gig. That's what it's all about. If you're not comfortable on your bike and you're living in Florida and you're bitching about it throughout the week and the weekends aren't going as good as you want, your butt needs to be in California where you can test and develop the bike and make it the way it needs to be to win races.
You're as a Michigan farm guy. You're as pure Michigan as they come. But did you hate California, or were you just like, that's just what I got to do?
No, I hated it, but you do what you got to do for a short amount of time and suck it up. No, I'm all about family and home, and so no, I didn't like it at all. Especially I lived in Cali by myself in my house. My fiance at that time was still in college and doing her gig, and wasn't chasing me around like a little puppy dog. So, but you just man it up and do it. You go home for Christmas, you get a dose of family and friends, and go back and make it happen.
Hey, when you were doing these motos in Michigan, I mean, were you just out there by yourself, or did you always invite guys up? How did that work?
I preach it to guys now. Anybody I work with now, it's called self-motivation. And so you got to have self-motivation. When it really comes down to it, that gate drops at Indiana this weekend. There's not any of your buddies pushing you. It's called self-motivation. And if you don't have it, and if you can't teach it to yourself, you're never going to make it.
So you were out there logging motos on a random Tuesday afternoon in the summertime.
That's right.
By yourself.
Yep. By myself. I didn't have to wait for anybody. I didn't have to have anybody clean my goggles or wash my clothes. And that has 100% been bred out. Everybody thinks they got to have two man friends and a girlfriend, and somebody's got to set my clothes out and wash my boots. And it is what it is. We've spoiled them all as manufacturers and advisors and team managers. We've completely spoiled them because the next guy's going to take care of them better than the next guy, and it's our own fault. But that most of them don't have. You can tell the ones that have self-motivation because they're winning. That's the bottom line. Ryan Dungy's had it. Ricky Carmichael's had it. Jeremy McGrath. Nomack has it. There's no secret answers. You can tell the people that step up, and tell the people that have 5 man friends and fly 4 people into the race, and got to have the people around them to make them feel good instead of make yourself feel good by yourself. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. Well, the other problem I run into in my line of work is that when you're surrounded by people that are just telling you how awesome you are all the time, sometimes you get a little rude awakening every once in a while. The bottom can fall out of that real fast, and then they start getting all bitter. And it's like, well, you were kind of not in reality for a while. This is how the world works.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. So
if
you got somebody telling you how awesome you are, pretty much you're not being very awesome. You're relying on them to make you feel good.
Hey, my last thing for you is your old guy, Dan Bentley, had moved all the way up in the chain. He managed the Honda 450 program last year, the 250 program this year. And at one point he was kind of gone a little bit, and he came all the way back. That's actually really cool. It's like it started with you, and he's still there calling shots. That's pretty neat.
Yep. Yeah, it is. Dan was iconic for me. The two of us got along great. We was that, we was that pair,
Yep.
We was the Brian Lunas, Ricky Johnson, Brian Lunas, Damon Bradshaw. There's always been a great mechanic rider combo that lasted forever.
Yeah.
And so, so it was awesome. He's done a great job. That's all he's ever done. He was at Kawasaki before he came to Honda, then at Honda forever, kind of got burnt out, back in the box fan days driving, and now he's back at it. And, he loves what he's doing. He's good at it. And so, just talked to him yesterday about Motocross of Nation stuff, getting his team back here and getting them a place to ride and hang out and stay. And so, it's all good. It's super, super cool.
What does he have to be? Is it for Hunter Lawrence, or who's he got?
You got it.
No kidding. So they roll out. It doesn't matter if it's Team USA or if it's a guy that's not even on the team yet. I mean, he'll be on the team next year. They're still putting in the full effort.
You got it.
Oh,
Semi will be here at my place, and they'll be here riding the week before. And so, yep.
Oh, you and Dan reunited old school in Michigan.
There you go. So, so that's the cool part. We keep in contact, and I keep in contact with a lot of those guys. My best friend, my second father was Bevo. I talked to Bevo forever yesterday, and so you just, it's family. It'll always be family, and you keep in contact with the ones that you're closest to, and so it's cool.
All right, that's awesome. And what do you do for the rest of the weekend when this Friday thing is over? What do you actually get to hang out?
Definitely. I'll pull my motorhome in there and hang out and watch everybody do their stuff, and hope that mid-October weather is going to hold out for us and be good.
Yeah, talking to the Richies about that, it can go a lot of directions from what it sounds like.
Yeah. Okay. If you think global warming is a joke, you got your head in the sand. So we have been warmer and warmer every year here. I mean, we've had on into November, been still riding and doing stuff. But it's Michigan. It is what it is. It can change that quick. So
yep.
So hopefully it'll be good. We got the iconic grass race the week after the Motocross of Nations. So if anybody's super pumped on racing and they want to race Red Bud, we're doing the grass race after the Motocross of Nations. Bring your old XR75 and do some bar banging on XR75s and race what we call the grass race. They make a track out in the parking lot, and it's just all grass, dude. It's an awesome event, just sliding around, choppy bumps, So it's cool.
Yeah, because there will not be amateur racing tied in with the donations weekend. So honestly, This is your chance. If you're, let's say you're one of the Euros that wants to come over, make a vacation out of it, and I'm sure somebody can get a bike somehow for the grass race.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, cool. Thanks for the time.
Yeah.
2018 Motocross of Nations experience. Go to Road to Recovery.
Yep.
Get your tickets bought. Let's get this thing sold out. It's going for a great cause to help anybody that's been injured in the past, injured in the future, and to help cover the Alpine Star Mobile Medical Unit for this event. Iconic event, so let's do it.
Yeah, this is the cherry on top of the sundae. So I'm glad you decided to do it even though you didn't have to. So thanks for doing it.
All right.
I'll see you then, buddy. Thanks, man.
All right. Thank you.
All right. See you, Jeff.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that's our conversation with Jeff Stanton. Does that not get you fired up for Motocross of Nations, knowing that all these legends are going to be there? Almost everyone who has been part of a Team USA has signed up to be a part of this event. I don't know about James Stewart. I don't know if they've had any success getting him to come. I'm not so sure about that. Pastrana and Wyndham are now going to be there racing for Team Puerto Rico. I could probably do an entire podcast on Team Puerto Rico, but I'm going to have to wait, I think, until we actually know what that team is going to be. The rumors this week is that Ronnie Mack is out and Kevin Wyndham is in. That hasn't been made official yet, but I have talked to some people that would know on the Kevin Wyndham side, his old race team, and they seem to be making preparations for him to have a Honda 450 for that event. So looks like that's imminent. We'll see. There's 2 months to figure out what this Team Puerto Rico thing really is. But at some point, we'll talk about it, I'm sure, a little more in depth. I'm all for all of it. I understand that to a lot of people, especially the Ronnie Mack thing, was an insult to the sanctity of motocross. But whatever, man. Half the reason people are pumped up about Redbud is because it's going to be an awesome party and a good time. And they have a safety moat built in around this event. There are qualifying races on Saturday. If those guys went out and totally sucked, they won't be racing. And if they were good enough to qualify, well, then they're good enough to qualify. So I wasn't really super offended by any of this Ronnie Mack potentially competing in the event thing, but I know a lot of people are, and not just rule makers, but also fans. Some people obviously love it too, but that's me, man. I'm not usually a drama guy. I usually think as long as it's a good story, it's cool. It's not my job to make the rule book. So I'm all right with it either way. Wyndham being in is cool, too. I'm not offended by anything. All right, let's get K-Dub in. And you can hang out with K-Dub. Go to mxonexperience2018.com, and that's where you can get info on the seats that will be available Thursday to hang out with these guys. Another really cool event coming up. We're going to try this. We're going to do one of these dumb podcasts in person, live, Friday, October the 12th. That's the Friday night before Monster Energy Cup in Las Vegas. A lot of people will also be there for the AIM Motorcycle Trade Show and Expo. So we figure we have a captive audience. We're selling tickets. If you go to the RacerXOnline.com website, look in the breaking news section. We have it stickied at the top. We have tickets for $20, VIP tickets for $35. Doors are going to open at 5 o'clock on that Friday. The show will start at 6, and we'll go to 7:30, and then we'll have a meet and greet scheduled after the show. We'll hang out with you. It'll have myself, Mathis, JT, Kiefer, all his PulpMX denizens, and then we'll also get whatever riders want to stop by that are in town for Monster Cup, and I think it's going to be a pretty good lineup. So all the normal arguing and debating that we do on a podcast via the phone, we're now going to do in person, and you can be there to watch it. We'll pass a microphone around. If you want to ask us questions, it'll be awesome. So it's the WPS Firepower PulpMX Racer X podcast show, October 12th at the Space in Las Vegas, Nevada, from 6 to 7:30 on Friday night. Be there. For this podcast, Yoshimura, of course, our title sponsor. Check them out, yoshimura-rd.com. They've got that new titanium header pipe, which makes the awesome Works Edition Honda CRF 450R work even better. Yes, even better than the Yoshimura pipe that it comes with, because this is titanium, so it's even lighter, and it's been tuned to give you a little bit more power. It only works with the Works Edition bike with the cylinder head and engine mapping that are built into that thing. If you have a regular CRF 450R, trust me, Yoshimura has plenty of header pipes that can work for that machine already. So again, yoshimura-rd.com to check that out. Made in the USA, that stuff, by the way. Not made in the USA, but certainly looking like it's made in the USA. That's just how the T-shirt market works. We've got patriotic things over at racerxbrand.com. So if you're planning on going to Motocross of Nations, or if you're planning on living in the United States day to day, or living in another country and wanting people to get mad at you, you can wear patriotic brand clothing that we've just released on racerxbrand.com, and I'll give you 20% off. Just type in exhaust in all caps in the discount code. Do not type in PulpMX. Don't do it. I want the credit for the discounts. I think I'm going to get some sort of kickback. I don't know. So that's racerxbrand.com. Thanks to Yoshimura, thanks to Jeff Stanton, and thanks to you for listening. We are going to Indiana this weekend for the finale of Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. This is the crossroads of America. Every interstate, one way or another, feeds into Indianapolis. There's no reason you can't get to this race, and I will give you another reason as to why you want to. We have the annual Beer Bash at the track Saturday night. I think they have a fancier name for it than Beer Bash. It's like a award ceremony or something like that. We're going to hand out the number one plates and the trophies, the traveling trophies that go along with the series. We're going to do all of that at the track on Saturday night. And we don't have the type of security that's going to bar anyone from it. So come to the race, stay for the party. We'll be hanging out. Often my sleeves get ripped off of my official NBC shirt. That's an annual tradition. So come see it in person. Come to Ironman. Also track. Should be good weather. Eli Tomac going for a title. Aaron Plessinger bound to do something crazy. He's probably going to dye his hair red, white, and blue. Why not get in one more race before the regular season ends? So come on out. Ironman MX this weekend. We'll see you then. Thanks for listening to the Yoshimura Racer X Exhaust podcast.